Hey guys, John here. I hope you're all doing well. Today I want to talk about the hardest and most challenging thing that I've ever had to deal with in my entire life. And that is the fact that for about 9 years or so, I've been having a condition called musician's dystonia or focal dystonia in my left hand, which has had a huge impact on my ability to play guitar, which is my life, my passion, and my profession as well. So this video is a bit hard to make, so bear with me here. It might be a little bit scattered and chaotic, but I'm gonna do my best to make this a cohesive story, okay? Now, why did I wait so long to tell my story about this condition? Well, as I said, it's a difficult topic to talk about to you guys because it means exposing myself, and exposing one of my sort of most personal and deepest secrets, if you will. It's not really a secret because my family and my friends and some people that I work with do know about this, but you, the general viewer, doesn't really know about that. And, in a sense, I think that is fine because I want you guys, when you come to my channel, to focus on the guitar tones, the gear, and the music and just have some fun and sort of look at the channel unobstructed, if you know what I mean, without thinking of me in a certain way that I have a disability or something like that. So for a long time, I have had doubts, should I make this video or not? Sometimes I felt like, okay, I want to make this video, I want to get this off my chest, and then other times, nah, it's too soon, I can't do it, I don't want my viewers to, have a distorted image of me. But this is who I am, after all. So, what's the point in hiding it from you guys? And I thought also that it's just time, for me to get this off my chest. Hopefully it will make me feel a little bit more relaxed about it, But hopefully it will also raise some awareness because I know for a fact that there are others out there who are suffering from the exact same condition. And perhaps it's also an important part of me accepting who I am and just making the most of life. So I want to go back in time a little bit and talk to you guys about how I got this rare condition, because they say that only about 1% of all musicians suffer from this really debilitating condition. A lot of people who have this condition, they just have to stop being a musician altogether because, they might have a professional career in orchestra or as a professional musician somehow, and they can't do their job at all anymore. So it can really ruin people's lives. Now, I will say up front, this hasn't ruined my life. I think I've been lucky. I think that I've found ways to deal with it. So I'm not an unhappy person. I'm not very sad. I'm quite grateful, about what I have in life and that I can still make a living with making music and, focusing on things that I love a lot, guitar tones and guitar gear and all that stuff. So I just want to say that I'm not making this video for you to feel bad for me or anything like that, but it still is a difficult subject. Anyway, so let's go back in time. When I finished high school, when I was 18 years old or so, I went to the conservatory in Rotterdam for a year where I studied music. And I just wanted to be a musician. So some of those subjects that I had there didn't really interest me, but it was the most logical thing to do. And then after about a year, I was offered the opportunity to do an audition for a professional, well-known Dutch rock band. And I auditioned, and I didn't really have a lot of experience with doing gigs and stuff. I mean, a couple gigs here and there with my metal bands and stuff, but nothing really major like touring or anything like that or big stages, So I didn't really know if I would get the job, but I did it. And I got the job, which was crazy because then it was 2005 or so. I was 19 years old, and all of a sudden I was in a well-known Dutch rock band, which was amazing, of course. Suddenly I was a professional musician. For some reason, that band and me, we clicked. So I had a career of about 5 years in that band. We played all the big stages in the Netherlands. I basically did everything that people dream of as a musician. So in that regard, I feel very fulfilled that I have had the opportunity to have that journey in my life. So that's really cool. I have a lot of great memories and I'm very grateful to those guys for, letting me be a part of that. And then in 2010, we quit. So the band was no more. And then I started teaching and stuff at music schools. And I also had my own band, which was way smaller, where we're not well known at all. You know, heavy rock and stuff. And that was pretty cool. We won some competitions as the band, so we were doing okay. And I was teaching at a music school at that time as well. But I think that I did feel some pressure there to, you know, make it my profession again, because that's who I was, right? I was a professional musician. That's how I made a living, by doing gigs and making records. And of course, that wasn't easy, but I think that I think I handled it well. Teaching was fun. And so I think 9, maybe 10 years ago or so, I started noticing something strange in my left hand, so my fretting hand, since I'm a right-hand player. And what I noticed was that when I was doing runs and stuff, you know, scales and stuff, I noticed that my middle finger, you know, in a lot of cases didn't end up on the right place of the fretboard, almost as if my middle finger was sort of pulling down a little bit more than normal. And it was a little bit frustrating, and I thought, you know, I have to practice more, which is what usually happens when people get this condition. They think that they have to practice more, and that can drive you crazy. And that can make your condition worse, in fact. Anyway, so I decided to take a week off, no guitar playing, and then when I would get back to playing, everything would be back to normal. So I took a break for a week or so, and then when I picked up my guitar again, I noticed the same issue. So my middle finger, you know, the muscles of my middle finger wanted to pull my finger inside of my palm a little bit. And I started to get concerned and a bit stressed out. What could this be? And after a while, I went to the doctor, and, you know, the normal doctor, and they were like, yeah, we have no idea. Maybe take some breaks and stuff. Eventually, I went to a special like hand clinic, and they gave me an injection because it would probably be the carpal tunnel or something that was blocking some nerves or muscles or whatnot. And I did a bunch of stuff for a year long. I didn't really know what was up. And while I was going through this, my condition kept getting worse and worse. So at this point, I was having a really hard time playing guitar, you know, even shifting from simple chords to another was very challenging at times. Playing leads got very challenging, certain riffs and certain hand postures and stuff. Basically, what was happening is that my index finger wanted to straighten like this, and my middle finger primarily wanted to go inside of the palm like this. And the other fingers are affected by that as well, because it's all kind of connected, you know. So yeah, playing guitar became very challenging indeed. And then, you know, it was very hard for me to find out what was happening to me, because this is a very unknown condition. Not a lot of people in the medical world, at least in my country, know about this condition at all. And then my mother gave me an article from some website about focal dystonia or musician's dystonia. And I was like, oh man, this could be me. This could be the condition that I have. But it was a bit of a serious article, because it said that, you know, everybody who had this condition would have it for the rest of their lives, and that it's a career-ending condition. And then I went to a special doctor in a hospital that I found through reading these articles. I think he was, or is still, I don't know, because he was a little bit old, the only guy in my country who knew about this condition in the medical world. And then I was officially diagnosed. Now let's go to the condition of focal dystonia or musician's dystonia. I'm just going to read you a description that I found on Google. Musician's dystonia is a task-specific movement disorder that manifests itself as a loss of voluntary motor control in extensively trained movements. Approximately 1% of all professional musicians develop musician's dystonia, and in many cases the disorder terminates the careers of affected musicians. So yeah, as I said earlier, this can have a profound impact on your life if your income is dependent on you making music. So at that time, I was teaching and I had those bands, and you know, I had to stop playing in the bands because I just couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't play songs from start to finish. I couldn't play certain parts anymore and stuff like that. And teaching was also quite challenging. Luckily, I was able to sort of stay in the music school, and my boss at that time was very understanding He was like, explain them how to play things in a different way. But as you can imagine, it was very difficult for me to teach young people how to play without me being able to show them how you should actually play it. That was that was a little bit maybe of a dark period in my life, even though I don't see myself as a person who has very dark periods, if you know what I mean, but probably subconsciously it was a very challenging time. So this condition is task specific, and that means that, in normal day-to-day activities, for the most part, my hand is fine, because I also had like a MRI or CT scan or whatever, and my arm was fine. They couldn't find anything wrong with my muscles or my tendons and stuff like that. So it's probably something in the nervous system, that is causing this, or in the brain. There are some different sort of theories on it, but the main theory that I've landed on now, and which seems to be very accepted in this field right now, is that it's overactivation of the nervous system that is causing this condition somehow. Some people, they contract this condition when they go through something very traumatic, like losing a loved one, or having a very bad accident, for example. That wasn't really the case for me. Some people, they contract this condition when they, for example, get a different music teacher when they're studying music, for example, and they get a teacher that is very strict about certain hand postures. And, oh, you're doing it wrong, you should do it like this. And then the player starts to focus way too much on the posture of his or her hand, which can cause this condition, being too aware of what your body is doing and not letting the movements go naturally. Just as if you're walking, you don't think about all the steps that you're taking. Or when you're picking up a glass to drink from it, you're not thinking about, okay, now I'm putting my hand around the glass, closing my fingers, raising the glass, etc. You don't think about those things. And that's how it should be with playing guitar. So being too conscious and too stiff and tense with your playing can potentially lead to this. That's my theory anyway, that my way of playing and what I focused on during my playing might have caused this condition in my case, but I'm absolutely not sure about that. So yeah, that was really, really life-changing and very stressful. I guess I should admit that it was very stressful. And around that time, I was making audio clips on SoundCloud because I just got my first Axe FX, I think maybe a year or two prior to me getting this condition. And I think Kevin, my good friend, he was like, why don't you go on YouTube and make videos, because then you'll get more exposure for your clips and stuff. And I was like, sure. And it also seemed a good environment technically for me to be in, because I would have a lot of control over, how I could edit my videos and edit my audio so that this condition wouldn't be a hindrance as much. I could make songs and have them complete, if you will, have a complete song so you guys can listen to it and look at it without, my hand messing up the songs all the time. So that's always quite challenging, of course, when I'm trying to record something that is really hard to play. Even if it's like 2 chords that I have to switch between, sometimes that can be a challenge. But YouTube sort of was a way that enabled me to still make music, because being on a stage and playing songs from front to back, let alone 1 or 2 hours long, just wasn't an option anymore. I could not do that anymore. So making videos and productions was a way for me to still be able to make music and full productions without being hindered too much by my condition. Of course, it still has an impact on me. I can't play certain stuff. I definitely have a much harder time playing leads, although I've been trying to push that a little bit more and to do more leads because I know that you guys want to hear it. And it is something that I do enjoy, some lead guitar here and there, even though I'm not really a shredder, I enjoy rhythm playing more and grooves and chord structures and stuff. So my focus changed over the years. So from that point to where I am now, I used to focus more on technical stuff and the playing itself, getting better at certain runs and lead playing and stuff. And now my focus has shifted from the playing and the technical aspects of playing more into sound. So somehow when that door closed, that very big door that closed, somehow, and I feel very grateful for that, another door opened. And I guess that I got some opportunities here and there that allowed me to grow my channel and to develop my skills with this disability, if you know what I mean. So instead of focusing on challenging passages and challenging solos and challenging riffs, I started to focus more on sound and gear. You know, I've started to appreciate music in a different way. I used to get a real kick out of technical music. I still do. I still love players like John Petrucci. Meshuggah is a huge band that I really love. But in terms of my own playing, I started to appreciate simplicity more, and I started to focus more on groove and certain chord structures and finding the beauty in that as well. So there has been a huge shift in me as a musician because of this. But again, I feel so grateful that I can still do this in a professional manner. It's unreal. I mean, I have one of the most challenging conditions that a musician can have in his or her career, aside from, you know, losing limbs or anything like that, because that would obviously be more severe. I can still play, but what I can do is, you know, hugely impacted by my condition. Now, I am a musician. I love creating music and sounds and tones, and the combination of sounds, tones, and music is my passion. And of course, this is my main outlet. Sometimes people ask me like, hey, where can I listen to your music? And I've done some songs here and there with some other people. And you can listen to some of that stuff on my channel. I think some of it is on Spotify as well. But that's why I don't do a lot of music outside of the channel. This is my creative outlet. And I still want to be creative. I love being creative and creating riffs and new chord structures and all that stuff and moods and cool rhythms. And that's also why, you know, my amp demos tend to be so involved. When I get a new amplifier to demo from a brand, I really go all the way. I write a bunch of songs, you know, clean, crunch, heavy, other shades of heavy, etc. And I really get a kick out of it, despite the fact that it's extra challenging for me. Not only do I, you know, have to write all those songs and record them, I have to, you know, go through the whole process with this condition, which makes it extra challenging. But at the same time, it's also very rewarding for me because I just love creating things and then listening back and hearing, wow, you know, that's something that I created. And it has been that way from the start. That's why I loved recording and playing guitar so much from the beginning, to create new things for myself. And even though it's a challenge, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm very grateful as well over the fact that my ability to write music hasn't really, or I should say write a lot of music hasn't really changed, even though I have to work within certain boundaries. I'm still very creative, I guess. It's easy for me to come up with new ideas and new riffs, and I want to keep the music on this channel fresh because I enjoy that, but I hope that you guys appreciate and enjoy that as well. You know, sometimes I have to reuse riffs here and there, but I try to come up with a lot of new music regularly. Yeah, simply because I enjoy that so much, and that's a huge part of me being a musician. You know, one thing that I've learned is that music does not have to be complicated or technical or, you know, difficult to play in order for me to appreciate it and in order for it to be good. And sometimes I even get surprised by your reaction. Sometimes I write something that is very simple because my condition was really giving me a hard time. And then I'm like, it's cool, but it's simple, you know, and then I get comments from you guys, which is very cool. Like, wow, that was so amazing. I want to learn how to play that. And it's humbling, you know, in one way, in a way I feel like, oh man, I was so bad, you know what I mean? But at the same time, wow, it's so cool that despite my condition, I was still able to create something that is inspiring somebody out there. And I know that a lot of you, they come to this channel just for the gear and just for the tones, which is absolutely fine. But I know that some of you also appreciate the music that I write, and I just want to thank you guys for your support and for your encouraging comments. And yeah, that means the world to me, more than you'll ever know, especially considering, you know, what I've been going through with my hand and with my focal dystonia, or musicians' dystonia. But I guess that's a message that I also kind of want to send out, is that sometimes it's good to stop focusing on your technical abilities and stop focusing on going faster, and just focusing on simple stuff and see what you can get out of that, because there's a lot to be achieved with music that is less technical, I guess. I've also learned to look at some things a little bit differently in terms of what people are saying. Like sometimes people are saying, don't focus on the gear, just play music, just practice, you know what I mean? And while that is totally fine and I understand that perspective, if you practice too much, you could potentially, even though it's a small chance, get in trouble just like me, because you're focusing so much on your technical abilities instead of focusing on the music and the sound and whatever comes to you musically. And that can be a little bit tricky. And I think that the most important thing of all when it comes to playing music or being creative in general is just focus on whatever makes you feel good. Focus on what makes you happy. And I cannot stress this more. Like sometimes you'll hear people say like, why do you have so many amps? Just get one and focus on your playing and, you know. But some people like me, they get a lot of joy out of the gear and the tones and the different textures that you can get. You know, the little nuances that you can get out of playing one chord, for example, with a wide variety of amplifiers. You can get a lot out of that. So that's another message that I want to try to convey here, is just focus on whatever you are passionate about and what makes you happy without worrying about what other people say and what other people's judgment is about that. Music and being creative is all about being free and, you know, finding your own path. And even if you have a condition that can be very debilitating like mine, there are still ways to be creative, and there will always be a path for you to go down in which you can be happy and fulfilled doing what you love to do. And again, I know I've said this a bunch of times already, but I can't stress this enough, is how grateful I am to be in this position to make videos for you guys. I'm still able to create my own music, even though technically it's more simple than it used to be in general or as a whole. And I get to review and demo all these wonderful amplifiers and pedals and plugins, and I'm really having a blast. It's still a challenge, I'm not gonna lie. You know, when I get into my creative mode, when I write songs for my amp reviews and stuff, usually I have to spend like a week writing and recording songs. Especially at the start of those periods, it can be very challenging physically, even like changing from one chord to the other and stuff. So it will always be difficult for me. But I've been trying to find peace with myself, with the situation, and accepting what I have and, you know, what tools I have to be creative, and just trying to be at peace with it, even though it will never be super 100% relaxed, if you know what I mean, because it is something in my nervous system. Now, are there treatments for this? There supposedly are. I've talked to a number of people over the years who do several types of treatments for this condition. I've talked to some people who have found ways to cure themselves somehow, and I tried their methods, and unfortunately nothing has worked for me so far. And I feel like that being in the moment more and just accepting who I am gives me a little bit more peace, and just being creative without trying to fix myself. Because while I'm trying to fix myself, which I've done for many years, for the first several years of me having this condition, I was just focusing so much on getting better that I was focusing less on being in the moment and just enjoying what I have. So that's where I am now. I'm not really searching for a solution or a cure, because I know that whatever it might be, it's going to be very challenging and it's going to take a very long time. And right now I just want to be in the moment and enjoy my job, enjoy creating music with the tools that I have at hand, no pun intended. And hopefully I can keep doing this for a long time. I'm not seeing a regression, luckily. I'm not really seeing a progression as well. It's a very stable condition in that regard. It is how it is. There are times when it's more challenging. For instance, when I haven't played guitar for a week or two, then it's a bit hard for me to get back into the groove. But when I play frequently, it gets a little bit better, and I can handle everything a little bit better at those times. But that doesn't mean that if you have this condition, or if you know somebody else that has this condition, that there is no cure. As I said, there are methods that you can try. I also recommend that if you have this issue, that you go to the Facebook group, Musicians with Vocal Dystonia. Even though it can be a little bit of a hard place to be in at times, because a lot of people, especially when they get this condition and when they're early into it, it can be very stressful. So sometimes you get very desperate and stressed people in that group who want help desperately, if you know what I mean. And at first, it's just important to come to terms with what you have and to sort of try to relax and accept what you have and see what you can do about it or how you can live with it, basically. I know that there are drummers, for example, who had it, who can't drum anymore, vocalists who can't sing anymore, etc. So this can affect all styles of music and all instruments and everything. So it's not just guitar players, also in the picking hand, even both hands, which is, you know, incredibly challenging. There's also a book out there, The Vocal Dystonia Cure, which I have read. It hasn't been able to cure me, but it might help you somehow. So definitely look that up if you're dealing with this issue. Anyway, there's a lot more that I could say, I guess, but I just wanted to get this off my chest so that you guys know that I have this. That if something happens, if I do a video where I play no leads, or if you see me doing a weird sort of finger position for a certain note that you would play with one finger, for example, I'm doing with another finger, or sometimes I have to do like a power chord and then reinforce this finger with my middle finger so I can play that chord and stuff like that. Now you just know, oh, that's his dystonia or whatever. Or maybe you don't even see or hear it at all, which would be even better, because again, I just want you guys to focus on the music, on the tones and the gear, and just hopefully enjoy what I'm doing. But still, for 9 years, I've been, having doubts about making this video, and I'm glad that I'm recording this right now, even though I don't know yet if and when I'm going to release this. But yeah, I hope this creates some awareness. If you know anybody that has similar problems but is unsure of what is going on, refer them to this video or refer them to that Facebook group. There are some famous people out there like Victor Wooten, for example, who also have this condition. Scott's Bass Lessons, he has a big bass player channel on YouTube. He has the same condition. It manifests itself in a bit of a different way with him, but it's also quite similar. He wears the glove, which hasn't worked for me, unfortunately. But just know that you're not alone, and that when you can find peace with yourself with this condition, whether you can fix yourself eventually or not, that there are always ways to be creative. And you just have to sort of be open to that and try to find ways of still doing something that you love, even though it might be in a different shape. Okay, I guess that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you're still here, I really appreciate it. For me, this isn't going to change a lot, aside from the fact that I got it off my chest and that you guys now know about this. I'm just going to continue doing what I love, writing music for my videos, showcasing gear, enjoying tones, and enjoying riffs that maybe are a little bit more simple than what I want to play, but that I still can really enjoy. So yeah, again, thanks so much for listening. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Have you ever had something like this happen yourself, or do you know anybody who has this condition? Definitely let me know. And the more comments I get, the more YouTube's algorithm will push this video, so hopefully the more people will get aware of this condition. By the way, if you want to support this channel, you can buy something at my web store, some impulse responses or quad cortex captures, or you can buy something at my affiliate links at no additional cost, and that way you get to support this channel. But, I just also want to end this video by saying thank you guys so much for all the support that you've given me over the past 9 years or so. Ever since I started this YouTube journey, you will never know how much that means to me, and your encouragement and your kind words about my music and my tones and all that stuff. It's really what keeps me going, and it means a lot to me. So thank you guys so much for sticking around and for your positive comments and all that stuff. All right, guys, that was it. See you guys soon. Cheers.